You know, I think this might be Andalusia's magnum opus. Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video, I'm going to do a review of the Andalusia Revenant Oak Heavily Peated Single Malt Whiskey. Now, it doesn't say heavily peated, however, they have another peated whiskey, and this one's heavier than that one. It's also a higher ABV, but before I get into this, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's made from 100% malted barley that was kilned in Irish peat. It is double distilled, aged in dead bourbon casks for a minimum of 3 years. It's bottled at 131.62 proof or 65.82% alcohol by volume. And I don't remember how much I paid for it, probably somewhere around 60 bucks. So I'm a big fan of Texas whiskeys, and I'm having an experience with this whiskey, which I've only had once before, which is a certain amount of regret. Not in buying it, but that I only bought one bottle, and I don't think I can get another one. The other time was when I went to Bunnahabhain Distillery on Isla, bought one of the Fish Ale editions, and it was a Moine Oloroso, probably one of the best whiskeys I've ever had. I'm having a very similar experience with this one. It's just absolutely freaking amazing. It's a whiskey that you're afraid to drink. You kind of don't want to drink it because once it's gone, right? And that's where you just go, son of a gun. I wish I had bought another bottle. Now, I know some people watch this and say, hey, I can't even get Andalusia where I live. I live out in bumfucked Egypt somewhere. Well, I live in California, and the only way I was able to get this is by visiting Texas. I go probably, 2 or 3 times a year, visit distilleries. Heard about this one, that it was coming out, and I just knew how to get it. I wish I had tasted it in the tasting room, and because then I would have known, hey, I want to bring back more than just one bottle. This is unbelievably good, absolutely superb. Now, I've got a few Andalusias sitting here. This is the Revenant Oak Peated. However, it's lighter in color than this one. It's not as heavily peated. It's at 50% ABV. This one's more readily available if you're down in Texas. You can pick it up at Total Wine & More, probably for around 50 bucks. This one's an absolutely spectacular whiskey, but this is its bigger brother and much more intense and just blows it away. This is the smoked single malt. So not peated, but rather smoked using woods. It has much more of a savory barbecue character. This is one that I bottled actually at the distillery at their 3-year anniversary. I haven't gotten into this one. But this is a cask strength, straight from the cask that I got from this one. Haven't gotten into this one yet. And this is one I picked up on my last trip. This is the Palo Duro. This is also a distillery exclusive. Now, Texas whiskeys are starting to get out there. They're definitely making a name for themselves. Whiskey tubers have been talking about like crazy. But the best whiskeys, even those who have a wide distribution, such as Balcones, even those who have a wider distribution, the best bottles really don't make it out of Texas. So, I know travel is challenging these days, COVID's still lingering, and now we have perhaps more wars coming on. We're in never-ending wars. If you're in the United States and you're looking for someplace to go, someplace unique, head on down to Texas. If you're in the Austin, Texas area, there's a bunch of distilleries in the area that you can visit, including the Crowded Barrel, but Andalusia's in that neighborhood as well. Can't guarantee that they'll have this one, but I gotta tell you, if you go there, you're gonna find something special. Really, really fantastic whiskeys. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the whiskey itself. It's peated, but if you're not familiar with Irish peat, there's another whiskey that is done in Irish peat, an Irish whiskey, and that is the Slave Leg Dark Silky. It's very similar in terms of peat character. However, because of the climate, the Andalusia peated whiskeys using Irish peat are much more intense. They are heavier intensity of peat. However, it can seem like, imagine, an Irishman moved from Ireland into Texas and then had kids, and the kids are growing up Texan, even though their blood goes back to Ireland. That's essentially what Andalusia's peated whiskeys are like. So if you haven't had this one, this is absolutely fantastic, but Andalusia's will actually blow them away. Now, when you think peated whiskey, you're probably going to think of Isla, as I usually do. This is absolutely nothing like Isla. This isn't briny. It isn't that dark seaweed character. This is more like a barbecue, a savory barbecue. I get a little bit of root beer as well. I get some stone fruits. One of the things I liked was that they're using these dead bourbon casks. In other words, they're not having a heavy extraction out of the cask, which you're going to get in a Texas climate. They're letting the peated grain be the main player, be the star of the show on this. And so they're using these dead casks. That's why they call them Revenant, because it's sort of bringing these dead casks back to life by using them. If you're going to be making whiskey in a very intense climate, you got to mitigate the intensity of the climate and the heavy fluctuation in the temperatures and so forth. What you can do is use previously used casks, so you're not getting an overly oaky whiskey. And I got to tell you, they've done an absolutely fantastic job of this down there at Andalusia. I do get just a little bit of caramel, a little bit of honey, a little bit of a sort of a sagebrush. There is a root beer character, but it's not like Fanta or A&W, one of your, those kind of root beers. It's more like a root beer out of, say, a natural health food store. Get some caramel. There's some sort of like baked apples with cinnamon on them. There's a savory barbecue character there. I prefer a rub on a barbecue over a sauce. So this is much more like a savory rub with herbs and spices, perhaps a little bit of brown sugar and some salt. I get a little bit of stone fruit, maybe some peach, maybe a little bit, also a little bit of pear, just a hint of apricot. Really, really complex on those. There is a lot going on there. Now, at this ABV, you would think it would just be a smack upside the head, particularly since it's heavier peated. I don't know what the ppms are on it. I wish I knew. But if I were to guess, it's probably around 55 ppms. And it's not a total smack in the face. And that's another thing about this whiskey is even though it's at this real high ABV, it doesn't assault your palate. Wow. Yeah, sure, there's a little bit of tingle there. What do you expect? But it's got this intensity and concentration of flavor that you could drink this neat and be just fine. Yeah, after a few, maybe you'd be feeling it with that ABV. But I don't feel myself reeling back from it. Some of the Balcones whiskeys, those high ABV whiskeys, I can't drink those neat. Now, generally, I'm going to put this on water, and this does super, really, really well on ice. But if you wanted to, you can drink it neat, and your palate isn't going to get worn out. I'm still tasting now. It has a fantastic development. Up front, the sweetness is up front, and the savory is about halfway to 3/4 of the way back. I get the stone fruits, maybe a dried peach, a little bit of apple, a little bit of apricot. There's that nice cinnamon character up front, like a cinnamon on a baked apple. Savory kicks in about halfway through. That's where I'm getting the barbecue rub character, that brown sugar, a little bit of salt, a lot of herbs and spices, which is also sort of reminiscent of my root beer note. It finishes a little bit of sweetness on there and savory and a little bit of saltiness, but not like from the sea breeze. And it's just got a real nice long finish. The development on this is absolutely superb. This is one of the most balanced whiskeys I've ever had. To balance the ABV so that you get an intensity of flavor without overwhelming the palate, and yet you also get this real nice evolution, this development from the front and the middle into the finish. It has a depth of flavor and a length of finish. This is just mind-blowingly good. And I'm like kicking myself. I wish I had bought another bottle. I wish I'd bought another bottle. I'm sure it's a limited release. And so you go, why review a whiskey that most people can't get, that's only a limited release? Because you need to know what's going on down in Texas. you need to know what Andalusia is capable of. And if you're looking for a place to visit, you're looking for a destination to go visit a bunch of distilleries, there's a whole bunch of them in the neighborhood. Definitely got to check out Andalusia. Absolutely, absolutely superb. What would I give it in terms of score? I'm going to go solid 95 points. Solid 95 points. This is definitely going to make it on my list for top 10 for 2021. Excuse me, 2022. I forgot what year we're in. 2022. Just absolutely superb, superb, superb bottle. Now, I'm going to make a few phone calls. I'm going to see, maybe I can find someone down there who might be able to round me up another bottle. But if not, then I know the next time I go down there, I will be looking for another one, because this is absolutely superb. All right, that's it for this review. If you've not yet subscribed, like watching my videos, I ask you to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when I go live. And I want to thank all my patrons who supported me. I've stopped the Patreon support, mostly because I just don't need it, but also so that I don't feel like I have to keep producing at a certain rate, so I can sort of slow down a little bit and not feel like I have to keep making videos because someone's throwing me a couple bucks. So I can do them at my own pace and when I feel like doing them. But I want to thank all my supporters and the loyalty to them. It's more of the thought that counts than the money. All right, until next time, cheers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.